Part 3, Chapter 13. Vernon and Herbert arrived in Washington, D.C. around 7 a.m. Vernon decided to leave the family home this time since the trip would be so short. When Clyde looked out the window and saw Vernon's Impala pulling into his driveway behind his Tercel, he grew excited. He was still in his pajamas and t-shirt, but he didn't care. He hurried downstairs to release the locks of the front door and swung the storm door open.
Guys, what's up?
They engaged in a group hug. Vernon looked around and said, "This is a pretty decent place you got here, Clyde. So proud of you, brother."
Man, it was hard getting a loan. I used my Metro employee benefit to get it through Riggs Bank.
Yeah, that's true. People can say what they want to say about blue-collar jobs, but blue-collar brings in that green paper. You understand what I'm saying?
That's it. That's what's up.
Tommy was the only one that did not work a blue-collar job.
Have a seat, guys. Want some breakfast?
We were thinking about taking you out for breakfast since you hosting us. Then we'll head up to the record company, Herbert said.
Okay, I'll take the free meal, but take a quick relax. Make yourselves at home. Do y'all have any problems with the directions I gave y'all?
Nah, they were right on the money. We hopped right on I-295, and it brought us right here after we got off 95. Vernon said. After Clyde took his shower, the guys headed out to breakfast at a small diner in PG County, just across the state line. Once they ordered, Clyde led the conversation when he said,
"You know what? Despite all the crap we dealt with, I wouldn't trade working with you guys for anything else in the world. You can feel me on that?"
"Yeah, man, I would do it all over again, too."
"I don't know.
I could do without that label, though," Vernon said with a faraway look in his eyes.
"Well, that's a given. But what if this works? I mean, what if we get signed and end up successful? Does that thought scare y'all?"
Herbert asked.
"In a way, it does. I really do like my job. I like driving the bus." "When you talked to Jennifer, what was her take?"
"Well, she told me she would support my decision. She did say that quitting my job too early would not be a good idea, and I agree. But she knows my heart is with my art. I can, it can be a struggle not doing what you like. You understand what I'm saying?"
"True that. David was so smooth about it, though. Almost like he knows this might work out. At first, I thought he was trying to get rid of me."
"Yeah, I would have thought that too if my supervisor or trainer told me to quit my job."
"Well, that would mean that my art is good and I could sing. Usually people are telling you not to quit your day job."
"But you know what, guys? I think we should not give up on Tommy."
"Vern, he gave up. I didn't give up on him, and I don't give up on him, but I couldn't convince him."
The food arrived and they ate and headed up to the studio afterwards. Chapter 14. Vernon's Impala pulled into the parking lot of the studio. They had arrived around 10 a.m., 30 minutes before the scheduled appointment. There were a few cars in the parking lot. The building was an old warehouse that had been converted into a studio and had 4 floors. Once they were buzzing the front entrance, they could see Mr. Preston had done some extensive renovations to the place. Large portraits of artists, including First Delegation, lined the walls, and large plants placed in various areas of the lobby. A young woman with a large afro sat behind the desk, manning the phones. She worked that switchboard with such ease that it made Clyde respect her. Then he recognized her as a girl who used to be signed with Fidel label.
"Hey, ain't that Angie Baskerville from Philly?"
Clyde asked the guys, and Herbert said,
"It sure is. Oh my goodness."
Her head bowed slightly as she continued manning the switchboard, and she did not notice the 3 familiar faces heading in her direction. Their nervousness subsided from when they first pulled up. Seeing a familiar face brought comfort. It spoke of hope and the possibility that Norman would cut them a break too. Here was another Fidel artist, but Clyde could not help but to wonder if she was handling these duties to pay for her deal.
Hello.
Vernon spoke as the three men stood before the oval-shaped counter where Angie was posted. She wrote something down on a yellow pad as she spoke. Hello, how can I help you? She stopped in mid-sentence when she realized who stood before her. A smile immediately crossed her face and she said, Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. Where y'all come from? She stood, hurried around the desk, and hugged her old friends.
We have an appointment at 10:30.
She headed back to her seat and looked at the appointment book. Oh, wow. I just got here an hour ago and I didn't even look at the schedule. Wow. So y'all are here to sign.
We're hoping. Are you signed?
Vernon asked. Yes, I actually just finished my first single a few days ago. About to work on my second.
When is it getting released?
Well, as soon as it's done going through that, review critique process.
That part always makes a person nervous.
I know, right? Let me call up there and let them know you're here. It's so good to see y'all. She picked up the phone and informed the person on the other end of their arrival. 10 minutes later, a tall, armed security officer exited the elevator and escorted them to the second floor. He led them down a carpeted hallway and through the door at the end of the hallway, which led to a modest conference room. The oblong table seated only 8 people.
Have a seat, guys. Miss Preston will be here with you.
After that, the officer disappeared, leaving the guys in the quiet room. The room was silent, and each of the guys were in his own thoughts. All of them hoped this would be the day. Vernon was even making up songs in his head. Clyde was hoping Mr. Preston was as fair as David said he was. And Herbert was sitting there wondering how many times had First Delegation sat in this very room, and how many times had Yolanda Preston sat in the very chair he sat in. He laughed out loud.
Share the joke, man. Don't just keep it to yourself.
Vernon said as all the other guys looked at him perplexed.
I was just wondering. How many times Yolanda's butt sat in the seat I'm sitting in right now. Wow, Herb. Wow, you can't be serious. You can't be serious.
The door swung open, and an early 20-something, light-complexioned, tall, lean woman with shoulder-length sandy brown hair stepped in. She was alone, and they wondered if Norman would be joining them. Good morning, guys. I'm Patrice Preston, she said, and Vernon noticed a slight southern accent. She went around the table, shaking hands. After the introductions were made, she settled at the head of the table. Her demeanor, though calming, was serious and spoke volumes of handling business. She did not seem hurried, but seemed a little preoccupied, as if she was in constant demand. Clyde had done his homework, knew that Patrice was the machine behind First Delegation and their success, and some of the other groups that had released music since the company started in May of 1978, a year ago. Launching productions that quickly told him that nobody in this company was playing games. They were there to get things done. You Midnight Velvet, first of all, let me say welcome.
Thank you. Are we waiting on Mr. Preston?
Clyde asked. My father doesn't sit in at this level. We're here to see if we fit. If you like us and we like you, I would say I love your music, but where's the other guy, Tommy?
Well, Tommy declined.
Patrice's brows furrowed slightly in confusion before she said, I was under the impression that there would be the entire group, all 4 of you.
He doesn't want to sing anymore.
May I make a suggestion?
Well, sure.
Clyde said. I think you guys should find a way to convince him to join you. Otherwise, you don't have a group.
The three of us can sing.
And we can change the name, Clyde and Vernon suggested respectively. But you're making a comeback as Midnight Velvet. That's not going to go well with your fans who remember you. Do you own your name?
Yeah, I came up with the name. Fidel does not own our name,
Vernon said. My professional advice would be to keep the name and get Tommy. That will ensure optimum success. If you return as an entirely different group name, it's almost like climbing that tree all over again. You guys are already perched on a branch, although not the treetop. But you're not just getting off the ground either. If you were, then we can start there. You have a name. Use it. Your rep is good. No scandals or anything like that. Right on that name, fellas. After that, she closed the folder she had been holding in preparation to leave. Clyde had to speak up.
Okay, so we'll try to convince Tommy again, but let's say we can't. Can we give you his number to call him and explain all this coming from you?
Surprisingly, without hesitation, she turned to Clyde and said, Sure, I can talk to him.
You can?
Well, yes, Vernon. Why couldn't I? She handed Clyde the pen she was holding and told him to scribe their friend's name on the manila folder she had been clutching. Clyde noticed the file name in big bold letters, Midnight Velvet. He wondered what information she had in that folder about them, wondering if she knew he'd been attacked a few years ago. He hoped to soon find out. It was a delight meeting you guys. Look forward to seeing you again.
I hope so.
I'm almost sure we will be seeing each other again, Herbert. Vernon and Clyde raised their eyebrows. She personally led them to the lobby, shook their hands again, and they waved at Angie. See you guys, Angie said. Patrice disappeared onto the elevator and the door shut. The guys headed over to Angie before heading out the door. So how did it go?
She told us to come back with Tommy.
I figured she would say that, but it wasn't my place to say it.
Well, we understand.
So, what are y'all going to do?
We're going to get Tommy,
Vernon said as they headed to the parking lot. Once they were at the car, Herbert asked,
So what do you guys think of Patrice Preston? What do you mean? As far as her looks?
No, her. You know, the way she handled that meeting.
Well, she seems pretty serious. Yeah, and if she wasn't, she wouldn't have agreed to call Tommy. But something tells me she gets what she wants, guys.
One thing is for sure. We got to get Tommy Johnson on board, Vernon said resolutely. Chapter 15. It had taken Clyde 3 attempts and 5 days to reach Tommy. It sometimes disturbed him how Tommy always took so long calling him back. After all, he did have an answering machine, and he sometimes wondered if Tommy sat right in his living room listening to him leave a message. He was always strange that way. He was an introvert, and the first time they performed live, the youngest member of the group was terrified. How'd your meeting go with Norman Preston, man? Tommy asked.
Well, we did not meet him, but we met his second in command, his daughter.
His daughter?
That's what I said, knucklehead.
Okay, so how did it go?
It went well, but she made one suggestion.
I'm almost afraid to ask.
It depends on you, Tommy. It depends on you.
Me?
Yeah, she wants you.
Really?
Yeah, she says you add a lot of value to the group.
Clyde hated to have to beg, but he had to. He went in for the kill.
Tom, please. We cannot do this without you. We need you. And who knows, it might end up being fun. Come on, Tom.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. I'll join.
You said what?
I said I'll join. When's your next meeting?
Our meeting to sign on with Preston Records would be when you are available. I think I can speak for the other guys when I say they are waiting on you too.
Okay, I'm available June 12th, the day after the last day of school. Clyde wanted to jump to the ceiling when he said,
So I'm clear to tell the other guys that everything is good?
"Yeah, I'm in, man, I'm in." The guys hung up, and Tommy knew it was time. Just before Clyde had called him, he had reached home, checked his answering machine, and had received a call from Patrice. "Hello, this call is for Thomas Johnson of Midnight Velvet. My name is Patrice Preston, and I'm calling to see if I can meet with you and discuss a deal with you for the guys to join our label. My phone number is 202-669-6600. Please give me a call. If I'm not available, please leave a message with our answering service. Look forward to speaking to you soon, and enjoy your day, Thomas." That was the message he listened to before Clyde called. She did not specify what she wanted. He would later tell Clyde that he knew that Patrice had already left a message with him. But for now, he wanted to pull his friend's chain. He knew Clyde would laugh and say, "You let me go through all of that when you knew she had reached out to you. You ain't no good, Tom." Tommy laughed to himself, thinking about how all that would play out. Chapter 16. Clyde could not wait to call the guys and tell them the news that Tommy had decided to sing with them. Herbert was at Vernon's house when Clyde called up to Philadelphia.
So he agreed? Yeah, Vern, he agreed.
"Man, that's good. I got a good feeling about this. I got a real good feeling about this."
Yeah, me too, man. I got a good feeling about it too.
Clyde heard Herbert say in the background.
And you know what? Tommy knows how to write songs too. And you know dance moves, Vernon. You good with that choreography and all of that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can still dance, but I think if I concentrate real hard, I'll be able to do it. And their careers with Preston Records would begin. One thing the four guys understood was that there were cutthroat tactics within any company, although Norma's policies forbid such activities, but there was not anything they could not overcome.